Hello and welcome to my video. So in this video I'll be talking about the process of throwing on the wheel. So this video will not be going in super depth because I'm not that experienced at wheel throwing, but I want to talk about my process and what I've learned so far. So step 1 is to wedge and center the clay. Wedging is a technique used to remove all air bubbles from the piece of clay you'll be using to throw on the wheel, and this prevents your piece from exploding inside the kiln when it's fired, and it makes it easier to work with on the wheel. Secondly, centering is a technique that you use to get the clay in the exact center of the wheel or on the plate, on the head of the wheel. First, you want to start when you center. There's a lot of other better videos that go into depth about centering, but you want to throw that on the center of the wheel and then gradually press into the center of the wheel to push your weight onto the clay, and eventually you'll be making a step 2, which is making a cylinder. Making a cylinder is when you actually start making your piece or your cup or your bowl, like whatever you need. A centering will be used for every piece. Cylinders, some pieces you don't use cylinders, but for everything I've thrown so far, I've learned how to pull up a cylinder. And so what you do is you want to pull the clay in an upwards pattern, so that the clay, and you want to squeeze the sides, so then the clay goes upwards, and then you can from there make a cup, you can make a mug, you can make a bowl, and you want to push the clay out from the inside to outside on the wheel, keeping it centered. Then step 3 would be shaping the cylinder. So as you can see here, I have a really tall cylinder. Unfortunately, this piece wasn't a great example. It was a little bit like wonky. As you can see there, it fell over because I wasn't that experienced with shaping it with the tool I was using. But the tool I was using is like a good tool to start with by just like it's shaped by like I bellied out the cylinder in order to make like a vase, but then when I bellied it out, I added too much pressure in one area and it made the vase all wonky and thrown off a little bit. But as you can see here, I started with a lot more clay this time, and I wanted to make a jug, or like a small jug, and so I made I took actually a lot of clay. I made the cylinder a little bit wider than I normally would because this was a vase instead of a mug, and then I added some texture around the sides after I shaped the way I wanted the jug. And then I kept centering it, keeping it centered. And step 4 is fail a lot. So as you can see here, I'm not the most experienced in wheel throwing, and these next 2 clips are me failing on the wheel. And I think with throwing the wheel, I've thrown probably over 100 pieces maybe, but they're all not successful pieces. I probably failed 100 pieces because I was really bad when I first started. And it always takes practice when you first start. This is probably my biggest failure, this clip right here. What I did was I put a vat, which is like a plate on top of the wheel, so then when I can take it off easier. And I started with a lot of clay. I got the clay centered, and I failed. It was bad. I tried to, as you can see here, I didn't pull a cylinder. I thought I could just pull a bowl immediately instead of pulling the cylinder, which was a big mistake, and it completely collapsed, and it was pretty aggravating, but eventually I ended up making a new bowl, and it worked out better later when I had more experience. Step 6 is place clay in a dry place. So for me, I wrapped my clay in plastic bags, black trash bags, and placed them on vats, and then I put the vats and like the plates inside dry closets to dry out for a while to become leather hard. And then the next step is to trim. So after they're done in the dry place and after they're leather hard, you want to take, like here I made a cup. And as you can see here, I have a tool on the wheel to keep the clay in the center. So I clip the piece to the center of the wheel, and then I use a sponge, some tools, and just like any equipment I can, just to like carve off. I'm basically carving off all the clay that is excess, like extra clay. And as you can see here, the clay looks a little bit different. So it's white, and this is what we call like the first fire. It's like it's been fired once through the kiln, and this is the step to glaze your piece. So after it's been fired once, this is after it's dried out and after it's been through the kiln, you want to apply some glaze. And so here I just made a teapot, and I'm just glazing it a blue color with some sandstone glazes. And then step 9 is fire the glazed pieces. So after I have glazed everything, I glazed this teapot blue and sandstone. After I glazed everything, I put it back in the kiln for another firing. And step 10 is to enjoy your results. So these are the things I've made so far with clay. I've made a lot more too, and some of these are raku clay, which is a different form of clay. And if you don't know what that is, you can check out my raku video. I talk about that. But I hope this helped. I hope this was a cool process video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.